All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Offstreet webinar. While everyone is trickling in and joining, feel free to drop in the chat where you're joining from today. It looks like I see some familiar faces here in the attendee list, which is awesome. It's great to see you guys. For those of you that are new to the Offstreet webinars, my name is Kyle, and I am tuning in here from the Offstreet HQ today. We're located here in Regina, Saskatchewan. The leaves are starting to turn colors and the temperature's getting a little low. Before you know it, there's going to be snow on the ground, and I'll probably be looking at flights to Mexico. But let's get into webinar stuff. If you have any questions throughout the webinar today, feel free to drop those in the chat or in the Q&A function down below. We encourage conversation here, so we definitely want to hear from you guys. Now, today we're going to be getting into homecoming. So there's lots of athletics games, tailgates, and fall events that all happen during the homecoming season. And parking plays a huge role in all of that. And of course, it's not going to be me, just me here rambling in front of all of you today. We're also going to be joined by some amazing guests who I might as well introduce now. So, first up, we've got Jodine. She is Offstreet's go-to expert for all things parking. She's worked closely with both of today's campus teams that will be joining us today and knows exactly what it takes to turn a chaotic parking weekend into a very smooth one. If there's a permit problem, she's probably already solved it. So, thank you so much for being here, Jodine. And joining us from sunny UCR, we've also got Sharlene. Sharlene plays a key role in managing event and guest parking on campus, and homecoming season is no exception. She brings a ton of experience and insight into what really happens behind the scenes when the lots start filling up. So thank you, Sharlene, for being here as well. And last but not least, representing the Trojans, we've got Gerson from USC. Gerson and his team handle parking during all of the most exciting and intense times of year. He's here to share how they're using Offstreet on campus and why starting small can have a very big impact. So thank you everyone for being here, Charlene, Gerson, and Jodine. Now, we're going to kick things off with a poll for the audience before we get into the questions for the panel here. So our little Offstreet wizard in the background is going to launch a poll. We want to know what type of fall events create the biggest parking challenges on your campus. So you should see this poll launch on your screen if it's not already there. Give that a quick answer and let us know what's creating the biggest challenges for you. Now, before we get into the action here, or actually, we might as well get into the action here. So I'll kind of give a little bit of intro, just the overall of homecoming season. So fall on campus is always a bit of a whirlwind, as I'm sure a lot of you know. It's a very busy time, so we appreciate you all being here. But you've got homecoming, football games, alumni events, family weekend, all happening within a few weeks of each other. It's exciting, it's fun, it's also a huge challenge for anyone managing parking. Suddenly, you've got thousands of guests showing up, different departments are involved, and a lot of moving parts. So, today we're chatting with folks who are in it and figuring out how to keep things running smoothly when campus gets really busy. Hopefully, they share some very helpful tips and tricks here for you to take home and use for yourself. So, I'm going to start off with a question for the entire panel. Maybe I'll just start with Charlene here. Can you describe to me quickly what homecoming looks like on your campus?
Hi, Cal, certainly. So today, homecoming is a it's one day, primarily in November, where it's a lot of open houses for our colleges, followed by usually an alumni concert. Our university doesn't have a football team, which is usually associated with homecoming, so we really emphasize the community aspect of it.
Okay, yeah, lots going on. Gerson, what about you? Can you tell me little bit about what homecoming looks like at USC there?
For us, some of the homecoming is busy, so we have different departments, different areas, just requesting parking, trying to accommodate everybody in different lots, and trying to restrict and trying to see how we can fit people in different areas. That's one of the main things for us, and everybody wants parking wherever there's closest. So
Yeah.
that's some of the issues that we encounter: how to control inventory and all the good stuff that comes with any athletics and homecoming events.
Yeah, lots of probably just getting creative and seeing what you can do with the space that you have. I think that's probably the case for a lot of people. So, um, Charlene, I'll direct this question just straight to you. How did your team approach guest parking for homecoming events in the past prior to using Offstreet?
So like today and years ago, we have several parking lots assigned to homecoming, so our guests can freely choose where they want to park depending on what event they're attending first. Because most of our guests attend several throughout the campus. So pre-COVID, we had ambassadors in the lot to issue physical permits, but during COVID, we transitioned to LPR. So our first homecoming after making that transition, license plate recognition was a foreign concept, and the application we were using at the time was pretty clunky with too many clicks.
Mhm.
So much so that our alumni and many others pushed for just a free for all for parking and no sites. We made a compromise in the early years where we used our LPR to scan who didn't have a parking to get numbers on like who didn't have parking, and then to be able to push forward with Austria in the future.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like LPR is probably a big step into helping that whole kind of thing come together. Gerson, to you with this one, diving specifically into maybe the more athletic side of things, what are some things that your team identified as struggles or hurdles that you were facing in the past when it came to parking?
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to athletics, it's they always want it their way, and that's one thing to find the common ground, especially when you're trying to transition digital. For us, we've been fully paperless and digital for the past year and a half. It feels like it's been a long time. It's only been a year and a half, and finding that common ground with the athletics team, that's one of those struggles as well. But also obtaining data that they're requesting. They always request data as to how many passes are issued per stakeholder, if the employees are redeeming the passes, if it's outside of that. And that's something that we couldn't do before. What we did before was create a code, which the employee will then stop by our entrance booths. They'll provide us the code. Sometimes they didn't have the code, so we have to look up by name. And all that created just a backlog. Overall, our queue lines were a little bit uh, long, and we had to take 2 to 3 minutes to deal with each transaction. Those are things that we encounter as traffic. Queue lines were long, traffic was heavy in those areas. It wasn't LPR compatible,
Yeah.
and all our components at that time, monthly permits, daily permits, even GA sales were already LPR compatible. Just the inner department areas is where we struggled to try to find how can we build a department on the back end, but still require them to enter license plate. And those are systems and issues that we had along with getting data. We couldn't get actual data for stakeholders for them to say how many passes that each stakeholder redeemed and which employee did that or redeemed their pass. So those were struggles that we couldn't with our previous system. And at the same time, for us, we did not know if you requested 150 passes for this group with security, we hold 150 spaces, not knowing if 150 passes came in, which in return we could utilize that better for GA sales. So those are some of the struggles that came with when dealing with athletics as well and trying to help them get data so they can settle finances and do better budget reports for the following season. So those are things that we struggle overall when dealing with athletics and not being LPR compatible.
Yeah, I think you touched on like the data there or data, however people want to say it. But I think it's important in the moment when you're getting that in real time data, but also down the line when you're, next year replicating the same event or even next month or whatever that looks like. So yeah, people are realizing that it's much more important. Jodine, I'll pass this next one to you. Now, you've worked closely with a lot of parking teams across North America, and specifically with both Charlene and Gerson. What are common challenges that you've seen yourself during homecoming season?
Yes, thanks, Kyle. So as you've heard from Charlene and Gerson, every campus really is a little bit different. So homecoming looks a bit unique on every single campus and school. One thing we find is that a lot of the big repeatable events, and that's very much established, they already oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes already have a clear process in place year after year. Where the challenges really comes in is with the smaller group, the vendors, the employees, the media, very last minute requests coming into the parking team. They're super busy already, and they somehow need to fold all of these requests into like a very busy weekend already. And then, as Gerson mentioned, supply data, find spots, direct people, make the experience good for every single one coming. So those are a lot of challenges that we see. I saw some on the chat as well. People wanted yesterday. They don't want to pay for it. So a lot of these challenges coming through, those are the main ones we see.
Yeah, lots of action in the chat there. All of the options, they want it free. That's funny. Okay, before we get into kind of our next round of questions here, the Offstreet wizard in the background again is going to ask one more quick question for the audience here. We want to know, how would you describe your current process for managing guest parking during major events? Is it organized and efficient? Is it, it mostly works? Is it a bit chaotic? Maybe you don't have a clear process at all, or maybe you're just not even sure, you don't even deal with it. Let us know there in the poll. And we will move on here with the next question for Sharlene. So, Sharlene, can you walk us quickly through how Offstreet is used during homecoming events at UCR?
Absolutely. Like I said before, homecoming, the focus for our homecoming is just to welcome the alumni and the community at large. So we want to make it parking as easy as possible for them, and that is the main focus. So what we've done, and also just to provide just a general set of instructions so that people attending one event, their instructions don't vary between attending one event and attending another. So what we've done is allocated our largest parking lots to homecoming. So to give our attendees the freedom to pick and choose where they want to park. And yes, at this time, that requires 3 to 5 different links because each lot has their own geofence and rules that apply to them. But what our alumni and university event clients have done is created a bit.ly landing page to consolidate all those links. And it also includes links to other homecoming information. So it's all consolidated in one. The bit.ly page is pretty much very similar to what you would see on Linktree on Instagram.
Right.
So they've been able to recycle that for several years now, but we are really excited that this kind of service is on the Offstreet roadmap to be able to provide several links for one event in different locations in the future.
Yeah, I think the communication when it comes to, parking is always overlooked. And I think that's super huge and something we find really important here at Offstreet. So that's awesome. Going into this question, this next question for Gerson. Can you talk a little bit about the small wins you've created for your team by using Offstreet for employee parking and what that flow sort of looks like for your team?
Yes, and after the pandemic, one of our key areas and one of our goals was to convert our campus fully digital and paperless. So by utilizing Offstreet to convert not only our department reservations, but all the requests that come in on the game day, that was a big component for us. And also, we're able to enforce now during the event. So that's a big win for us at the end, because we're able to generate and get additional revenue for those who did not pay on campus. But also, by utilizing Offstreet, we're able to get the data that athletics always requested. The way we did this and utilized Offstreet is that we create tenant links for the entire season. So we create one link that's valid for the season, and within this one link, we create different registration settings for each game, and we create different codes for each stakeholder group. Each stakeholder group is allotted a different quantity and inventory that we can adjust on our end, and we control the inventory and not athletics as well. And once they get their inventory and their allotment, when they register, we know how many passes were redeemed for each group. We know the employee that's utilizing, and that's key data that athletics has always been wanting that we weren't able to obtain before. And at the same time, that data helped us out because we could generate reports a day before the event to know what's the expected vehicles that will be arriving per location based on just employee parking. And for then, we'll release additional spacing for GA sales, which will then increase our sales. So by utilizing the tenant link and giving athletics access to manage their link, their own profile, and just generate their own reports, it saves us a lot of time on the back end, but also it gives us actual data that we were never able to provide to them. So that was a big key and a big win for us utilizing, but at the same time, it improved our queue lines. So our queue lines, we didn't have to spend 2 to 3 minutes trying to find a stakeholder's code, what group are they in, none of that. So now it's just, here's your QR codes, register your vehicle, this is where your parking is. So it sped up a lot of our traffic. So those are key wins that I can identify. But at the same time, one of our key components that we can cite during events now.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I feel like that's probably really beneficial for your relationship with the athletics team. I know at some campuses it can be touch and go with, working with other departments and specifically athletics because they have a lot of power. Give them the power to manage those links. So that's awesome to hear. Next question is for Jodine here. It's our last one before we get into the Q&A period here. So just a little reminder for the chat, if you have questions for, Sharlene, Gerson, or Jodine, or comments, drop them in the Q&A function. But Jodine, in your experience, what has been the most helpful tool for parking teams when it comes to large events, athletics games, during this time, like homecoming season?
I trying to put me on the spot there, Kyle, with choosing one tool only. It's a little bit tricky. I do want to say before I get into that, the Offstreet team really tries and make the product pretty flexible to adapt to a variety of like different events, different setups. I will give a big shout out to our product team. They often listen to feedback, and we get a lot from Gerson, Sharlene, a lot of you on this call today. So please keep the feedback coming. We really love it, and we always try to improve the product. If I had to call out one tool or one feature that we've recently released that made a bit of a difference in the setup, is the ability for the end user to edit or delete their own license plate. Campuses often encourage users to pre-register again, so they have the inventory, so they know who's coming. But as you know, plans change. I might decide to bring a different vehicle. I might not be able to come anymore. And because we make it so easy for people to register, we don't need them to register an account. So oftentimes now they need to go and edit their plate. So previously it wasn't possible, but now we've put the onus on them to come and edit their own plate. It does take a little bit of burden from the parking teams as well, not to have to deal with all of those requests coming in, and they can focus on like the main things that they need to be focusing on, which is not updating plates or removing people that's already registered for games.
Yeah. It's awesome when you can give time back to the parking teams, but then also like more power to the parkers, which is awesome. Power to the parkers. Okay, let's get into maybe some Q&A here. It looks like I see one question here in the chat from Whitney. If the customer can delete their car and add a new car or edit their plate, are all of those changes tracked on the admin/backend in reports? Jodine, maybe that's a question for you.
Oh, absolutely. I can do that. It doesn't show right now on the reports. That is a feature request that's coming in, but on the actual plate, there is an audit on every single plate. So you will definitely be able to see when that plate was changed and what time it was changed and what the previous plate was and what the new plate is. You have to go into that permit and see the full history on that permit in the system.
Great question, Whitney. Looks like we have another one here. How do you handle last minute changes, like a change in event time or overflow lots filling up? Maybe for Sharlene or Gerson.
I can answer this question. So the changes for us, it's could be in two forms. Usually, if we really trust the department, it's very few. Then we give them access for them to adjust times for their parking. Of course, they cannot control their inventory, but their parking times within that day, they'll be able to utilize and access. But on our end, it's just a simple communication to let us know, identify, let us know to make the changes, and every change that we make, it's in real time. So we're able to adjust right there, right in the spot, and it'll reflect, and not only in our units, but also in our LPR as well.
Nice. Another question here in the Q&A. Does anyone utilize Offstreet for season ticket holders? Charlene, I know we chatted a bit about that. I think you do, right? Maybe you can touch on that.
It is something we can do. We do something similar, so not necessarily specifically for ticket holders, but we do what was previously described. So we have parking, one link set up for the entire season. You just click the link and you select which game you're going to attend that season. They vary very little by time, but they're all for the same parking lot. And though we don't do this specifically for like we don't have season ticket holders like set up specifically for ticket holders, we do apply that concept through several other departments, specifically in the performing arts when they have like a run of theater performance or a series of workshops for a group to attend. And what other examples can I think of? Musical performances, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's across the board. It can kind of be tweaked in that way.
Mhm.
Another question here that came in, how quickly can new lots or areas be added for events? Jodine, maybe you want to answer that one. Or anyone, really.
Um, Pretty quick, Kyle. You would go in and edit and add new lots. The one thing to remember right now is it will apply for all new registrants registering for that event. But to edit an existing event or make changes to an existing setting is pretty quick and easy. You log in, you edit the current settings, and then you just save the new settings. That will apply to all new registrants trying to register for parking.
Mhm. Good question there. And one last one here that came through. It says, how do you coordinate with other departments like athletics or alumni relations during big event weekends? Any lessons learned there? I know, Gerson, you touched on athletics there a bit.
Yeah, one thing we do is whenever there's big events in our calendar, we always try to host meetings with the departments. We want to ensure that all their needs and needs are being taken care of. So we host meetings with them to go over details. We also go over their account details in case they have any questions, there's any last minute emergencies that they need or request. So we always set them up for an emergency link that if you have any requests that is emergency, use this one link or create a registration here. So this is your emergency aspect only, but then this is what's live where you're sharing with your guests. So we always prepare for any emergencies with them. We create different areas, but I always like to touch base a week before and also a couple of days before an event. And that helps us plan for any emergencies. And of course, the day of, we always have a communication and an open line to say, hey, this is going on. And like I mentioned, everything we do is real time. So on my end, I can always make edits quickly that I know will transition and the customer will see it immediately, as well as our enforcement units.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Seems like you're very prepared, or your whole team is prepared, which is awesome. Okay, well, I don't see any more questions dropping. Oh, just kidding. I lied. There's one more that just came in. Do you have any insights into how you have used Offstreet during commencement? Ooh, Charlene.
Oh, I love using Offstreet for commencement. It makes it very easy for families to find out where they're going because of the location features on Offstreet. It's what else can I say about this? We it tells them exactly what time. It gives them a lot of information right off the bat. It gives the student trying to work with their family peace of mind that their family is already registered for parking. They know where to go, and that it's already all set up for them before they even arrive on campus. So for my campus, we have a few of the ceremonies still on campus, and so we use Offstreet for those, but the larger ones are held off campus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like commencement is almost similar to homecoming in a way where there's so many different guests coming to the event, so there's lots of parking to be dealt with there. Um, Troy, oh, that nice comment in the chat from Troy. Um, okay, that's all the questions I guess that are popping into the Q&A. I know we're done a little bit early here, but that's not an issue for us. Give you back each some little bit of time in your day. So let's hear it in the chat for our guests out in California, as well as Jodine here on the panel here. Thank you so much for joining us today, Sharlene, Gerson, and Jodine. If anyone would like to learn more about using Offstreet for homecoming, athletics, or event parking in general, or if you just want to talk about your parking operations on your campus, feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call. My contact info is on the screen. I'm sure Sharlene, Jodine, or Gerson all wouldn't mind if you reached out to them too if you had questions more specifically for them. But feel free to scan that QR code on the screen as well to get connected. But that's all the time we have for today. So thank you everyone for joining us. I know the fall season's very busy, so we appreciate your time and for blowing up the chat like you all did. So thank you everyone for being here today.